Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a message from deep inside the AI industry. It's an urgent warning, really, that the ground is shifting under our feet, and the person who wrote it is convinced that most of us are about to be caught completely by surprise.
So the author kicks things off with this really powerful comparison. Do you remember early 2020, when all the news about some new virus felt, kind of distant, maybe even overblown? Well, the message here is that we're in that exact same phase right now, staring down a shift that could be much, much bigger than a pandemic. But we're all still kind of looking the other way.
And look, this isn't just a casual chat about the latest AI gadget. This is a deeply personal warning. The author basically says they've been giving friends the polite, watered-down version of what's going on, but the gap between that and what's really happening has just gotten too big to ignore. They feel like they just have to share the honest truth, even if it makes them sound like they've completely lost it.
Okay, so let's get into it. Section 1, a warning from inside. And here's the thing you really need to get your head around. This is not about the future. This is a report on what's already happened.
You know, just like in an earthquake, the ground shakes first and hardest for those closest to the epicenter. Right now, that's the AI researchers and software engineers. And the author makes this really critical distinction. The future isn't being built by thousands and thousands of people. It's a few hundred researchers at places like OpenAI and Anthropic. The rest of the industry, well, they're just the first canaries in the coal mine, feeling the tremors before anyone else.
All right, so how tangible is this change? Let's dive into Section 2, My Job is Automated. We're going to look at a stunning, real-world example of how a high-skilled job was replaced pretty much overnight.
To make this all feel really concrete, the author uses this hypothetical future date, February 5th, 2026. Think of it as a symbolic turning point. In their story, this is the day two new, fictional AI models get released and they create a leap in capability so massive that it feels like floodwaters suddenly rising to your chest.
So get this new workflow is just mind-blowing. The author describes giving the AI an app idea in plain English. That's it. The AI then figures out the entire user flow and design, it writes tens of thousands of lines of code, and, here's the really wild part, it tests the app itself. It keeps iterating and refining until it meets its own standards, and only then does it report back, okay, it's ready for you to test. A process that took a human weeks is now totally autonomous.
And this leads to a pretty staggering conclusion. The author just states it flat out. I am no longer needed for the actual technical work of my job. The AI has evolved from, a helpful assistant into a complete replacement for the core technical labor. And in many cases, it's producing a better final product than a human expert could.
Now on to Section 3, the pace of change. You might be thinking, yeah, but I've used ChatGPT and it wasn't that impressive. Well, that's a crucial point, because the author argues your experience is already dangerously out of date.
This slide highlights a massive and I think dangerous disconnect. Public perception of AI is often based on free tools from a year or two ago that seem, kind of limited. But the reality for professionals using the state-of-the-art models is completely different. These systems are described as unrecognizable from just 6 months prior, capable of what feels like actual judgment, and are already essential tools for top-tier work.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It visualizes the sheer velocity of change. It is not a straight line, it is a steep exponential curve. In 2022, AI failed at basic math. A year later, it's passing the bar exam. A year after that, it's writing complex software. By late 2025, top engineers are handing off most of their work. And by early 2026, a whole new era has begun. The progress is absolutely monumental.
And this isn't just a feeling people have. It's actually being measured. An organization called METR tracks how long an AI can work autonomously on a complex task. And that capability, well, it's doubling roughly every 4 to 7 months. Just think about that for a second. A technology whose core power doubles 2 or 3 times a year. It's just wild.
So on to Section 4. AI is building AI. This leads us to what the author calls the single most important and least understood development happening right now, the feedback loop.
The crucial point is right here from OpenAI's own hypothetical technical documents. Their AI model was instrumental in creating itself. Now, that isn't some sci-fi prediction, that's a statement of fact from the builders. The AI is now so good at coding that it's actually helping to create the next version of itself.
And this is what kicks off that feedback loop. Researchers have a name for it. They call it an intelligence explosion. It's a scenario where an AI gets smart enough to improve its own intelligence. That smarter version is then even better at the task. And, well, you see where this is going. It leads to a recursive cycle of self-improvement that just rapidly accelerates, potentially leaving human intellect far, far behind.
And again, this is not a theory. The people actually building these systems, people like Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, believe this process has already started. He's on record saying we could be just 1 to 2 years away from a point where one generation of AI autonomously builds the next.
Okay, so after all of that, which is, yeah, pretty disorienting, we move to our final section, what you should do now. The author doesn't just sound the alarm and leave us hanging. They offer a practical playbook for how to prepare.
And the advice is really direct and actionable. First, use AI seriously. Pay for the best models and really integrate them into your work. Second, secure your finances. Build up savings to give yourself flexibility. Third, lean into the irreplaceable stuff. Human relationships, trust, physical presence. Fourth, rethink education. Prioritize adaptability and curiosity over rigid career paths for your kids. And finally, build the habit of adapting. Spend an hour a day actively experimenting with these tools. The core message is that being early to understand all this is your single biggest advantage right now.
And it's not all doom and gloom. Not at all. On the other side of this disruption is an incredible opportunity. Barriers that have existed for centuries are just collapsing. If you ever wanted to build an app, or write a book, or learn a new skill but you lack the time, or the money, or the expertise, well, those obstacles are effectively being removed. As the author puts it, your dreams just got a lot closer.
And that brings us to the final takeaway. This isn't an abstract conversation anymore. The author leaves us with this provocative thought. The future they've described isn't coming. It's already here. It's just a matter of time before it knocks on your door. So the real question is, will you be ready?